Hey there, Bernie Miklasz here. Hope you're having a good day. This is the Bernie Show presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Today's topic, we're just going to talk about yesterday, Wednesday. The Cardinals move on the day before the actual deadline strikes today, which is at 5 o'clock St. Louis time on Thursday. So today's topic with Chaim Bloom obviously having more and more influence at the St. Louis Baseball Command Center. It's easy to identify the direction that he's charting for the Cardinals as he moves in as president of baseball operations. And that direction, for now, it's obvious to me anyway, it is a strong emphasis on the future. And in my opinion, some of you ain't going to like it. It should be a strong emphasis on the future. And we saw that for sure, with no doubt whatsoever in my mind, in the two trades made by the Cardinals on Wednesday. I'll get into the specifics of those trades later in this video, so please hang with me. But I really think you gotta stick with me here. I really think it's important to understand some things before you evaluate those trades that moved Ryan Helsley to the Mets and Steven Matz to the Red Sox. Those trades were aimed at the future. They were not trades to deliver instant gratification. The Cardinals aren't contenders. The Cardinals are basically calling it different things, but we're talking about a rebuilding here. It is not a teardown, but it is a rebuilding. And these trades are basically an acknowledgement of that. These trades were not instant gratification deals. The Cardinals are not in a position to where you're going to give up some really good assets and people that have term and you're going to do it for short-term gain. It just doesn't make any sense in this summer of 2025. Especially when what you have to offer teams are rental relievers who can only pitch for those teams for a couple of months before going to free agency. As I said, the Cardinals did not require a complete teardown, but they absolutely require a deeper talent pool to set them up for a better future. I know some of you don't want to hear it, and I get it, but then again, you all, rightfully so, have been complaining about the Cardinals being stuck in the middle, just kind of settle. Oh, maybe we can get to 84 wins. Maybe we can sneak into a playoff spot. That's no way to go on and on and on. That's beneath the heritage and the prominence of the tradition of the St. Louis Cardinals. I want them out of that muck. If it means you have to rebuild and just openly say we have to rebuild because we have to restock our talent pool and set ourselves up for a better future. If you don't like it, listen, I get it. I just happen to see it a different way. I understand that Bloom was hired here for a reason, to restore a faded player development system that used to be a thriving source of talent for the Cardinals and a big part of their success, especially on the starting pitching side, but also in the bullpen. Jeff Luhnow, we bring him up a lot because I don't think he should ever be forgotten, because his experience with the Cardinals also teaches us something even about the present. Jeff Luhnow was brought in by Bill DeWitt, and he immediately improved that area, the drafting, the development, the scouting, the means of analysis, when he was hired by DeWitt in the early aughts. And because of that, the Cardinals were able to turn out young players, produce young players that could supplement the elite veteran talent that was already there and give the Cardinals much better depth. And also that enabled them, when you had so many young, cost-controlled players that were contributing to your team in a positive way, that made your payroll more efficient, and then you could spend money on veterans going forward, that type of thing. Luhnow's influence was a major factor in the Cardinals' sustained success, and his impact had lasted long after he left to become the GM in Houston, because his model that he left behind was still working until it wasn't, because the Cardinals let it get old and outdated without doing anything. That's why we're here today. So it needs to change. The difference between Luhnow's situation and Bloom's situation back then, let me do the set again. The difference between Luhnow's situation back then and Bloom's situation now is substantial. It's a huge difference. And I think it's necessary to understand that, because it gives us context. When Luhnow came in to change the way the Cardinals were evaluating, drafting, developing young players, he had plenty of time to set up the process. He had the full green light from Bill DeWitt. Do what you need to do. We have to modernize. We have to go about this differently. The progress wasn't going to click all at once for Luhnow, because he was operating with a different objective. I mean, this was all about the draft picks and the amateur international signings. These were not quick fix, instantaneous solutions, because when you're setting up a new draft and development system, you're doing a lot of things different, and the kids have to learn, mature, make their way up to the ladder through the minor league system. That takes time. Time was definitely, unless you have Bryce Harper or something, okay? I think you get my point. Time was definitely on Luhnow's side, because when he moved in at the old Busch Stadium to set up this more advanced operation in every way to keep the young talent in the pipeline and to give the Cardinals an edge with analytics, the Cardinals were already in great shape at the major league level. They had a winning foundation established by and led by Albert Pujols and Jim Edmonds and Chris Carpenter and Scott Rowland and Jason Isringhausen. And then a little bit after that, Yadier Molina, Adam Wainwright. You had all scores of like plug-in and play veterans like David Eckstein and Jeff Suppan. Later on, David Freese, who was acquired from San Diego for Edmonds, just to name a few. The Cardinals had that part of their team down, and that made it easier for Luhnow to focus on his job, which is making sure that pipeline would be flowing with talent for years to come. At one point, largely because of Luhnow, the Cardinals had the number one ranked farm system in baseball to go along with a major league club that made it to the World Series. That's not easy to do, right? It was pretty much the ideal combination. Luhnow's advancements and better drafting and developing, and plus the talent that was still here, still paying off a lot of that talent that was still here from the Tony La Russa years. From 2004 through 2015, the Cardinals had the most regular season wins by a National League team, second only to the Yankees in the majors. And from 2004 through 2015, the Cardinals led the majors with 55 postseason wins. No other team had no other. Let me do this way instead of screwing up the math. They led the majors, the Cardinals, with 55 postseason wins. The next team that was second, the Cardinals had 16 more postseason wins than the number two team on the list over that time. That's a pretty big gap. But now we have the Chaim Bloom era, and he signed on in St. Louis to take over compared to Luhnow, compared to that time. This is a much different time and a much different place and a much different set of circumstances for Cardinals baseball. Bloom came in primarily to start to basically save and fix and restore a player development system that was terribly outdated, an analytics department and that had fallen way behind the industry standard, technology that was almost comically stuck in the past, which was a disservice to their young prospects, even their major league talent. The Cardinals were no longer filling their starting rotation and bullpen with a strong presence of homegrown talent. This thing was falling apart. You don't fix it in 18 days. You don't fix it in 18 months. Bloom is taking charge at a time when ownership is slashing payroll. That's unlike the time when Luhnow came aboard. So Bloom's coming here as Bill DeWitt slashing payroll, while the Cardinals are still trying to catch up with player development, while Bloom has hired and is hiring people to do just that, upgrading the minor facilities, cultivating better results through technological advances, which they've neglected. And because of that neglect and the complacency of the crumbling John Mozeliak era, the Cardinals do not have any elite stars, period. And their starting pitching has collapsed. They have good players. Tell me the name of someone you would say, oh yeah, that guy is a Cardinals Hall of Famer. Listen, I don't see it. And if you do, I think you're wish casting. Anyway, there is no career peak Pujols around here. Molina, Rowland, Carpenter, Wainwright, Goldschmidt, Arenado. Pujols, Molina, and Wainwright retired. Goldie and Arenado got old. Chaim Bloom has got a hell of a lot of work to do in order to pull the Cardinals out of the mediocre Mozeliak middle and to higher ground to a more successful place. It ain't going to happen in one off season. And I mean, I wish it would, but it's not. And so I'm not going to sit here and be a big whining baby about it. That's just the reality because of the damage that John Mozeliak and Bill DeWitt have done to this franchise. When I return, I'm going to discuss the Helsley and Matz trades, and I'm going to do it without pretending to be a talent scout. I'm actually much more interested in identifying the approach, the theme, and understanding exactly where this Cardinals franchise is going here, okay? They're going in a direction that needs to happen. Anything to get out of the mediocre Mozeliak middle. And that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be rebuilding. It isn't going to be it ain't going to be drastic, but it is going to take some time. And they're going to lose more customers. They're not going to sell as many tickets. People, I don't know how their numbers will be on the streaming service, but the Chuckle Hut comedy troupe in the TV booth, they may be playing to smaller audiences now when they're doing all their gags and everything. I don't know. There's going to be pain, and Bill DeWitt and Chaim Bloom, it ain't Bloom's fault, but they're going to have to be prepared to deal with it. DeWitt and Mozeliak got the Cardinals in this place. Bloom's the one that's got to clean it up and pull it up, okay? And if he believes it is best to rebuild, I don't see rebuild as a dirty word. I see it as a necessary word and a necessary mandatory assignment, because that word rebuilding is the truth. And I don't see a reason to tell you any damn lies, okay? But hey, let's switch to something more pleasant. It's time for DraftKings. Need to talk about DraftKings. I love it. Baseball's moving into the final 2 months of the regular season. There's all these teams playing for the playoffs, and the action will be intense and exciting. You can get into the action by going to DraftKings and have fun by competing in their daily Pick 6 fantasy game. Playing Draft Pick 6 fantasy is easy to do. It's easy to get started, and the cash prizes are waiting there for you to claim if your baseball knowledge pays off. Just download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. After that, nothing complicated about making those choices. Each day, DraftKings sets a stat line for dozens and dozens of major league hitters and pitchers for the next game. So you take a look at that. You can even hit the profile of the player, see the latest trends. It's very helpful. And then you just pick more or less on the stats for two or more of your favorite players, and you're in line for a shot at winning the prize money. And again, I say more or less. It could be over or under, that kind of thing. You get it, right? Pick 6 is available here in Missouri, so there's nothing to hold you back, no limits. I really enjoy playing DraftKings Pick 6 myself, and I think you'll like this fantasy game as well. Don't settle for a smaller payout at other places. No way. You deserve better than that. So switch to DraftKings Pick 6, and you'll be at the right place at the right time for winning the money. Right now, new customers get $25 in bonuses if they're with their first deposit of $5. So download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
I'm sitting here doing this, and I see my phone going off. This is a brief aside. You never know. Like a brief aside. And so I looked over to see, who was calling me? Is it spam? You might even see me look over like that. I looked down. So one of the Russo's calling me. It used to be when he called me, he was going to holler at me, but usually it's more pleasant. I can't wait to find out what he wants this time. Anyway, let's get into my second and final segment of today's Bernie Show. If there was any doubt whatsoever on the Cardinals prioritizing the future and making the decision crystal clear, we received confirmation Wednesday when the front office traded closer Ryan Helsley and the lefty reliever, but I guess he could be a spot starter, in Steven Matz. The Cardinals received 3 prospects from the Mets for Helsley. Two of those prospects, were among the Mets' top 15. Infielder Jesus Baez and pitcher Nate Dome. The third was a high velo arm who seems to be getting better if you just go by the numbers. His name is Frank Elisalt. All 3 players, all 3 of them were playing at the high level in the Mets farm system. When you trade in your rental closer and you get in return, and you're happy to get them in return because that's clearly what the Cardinals were looking for. When all three are at the high level, you're building for the future. And yeah, that's part of your rebuild. Yes, indeed. You're taking a chance on guys that you have identified to have really promising upside, and basically you're taking that gamble. And in this situation, I prefer this gamble rather than the stupid gamble of wasting a lot of money on payroll of players that are not going to deliver value. Later on Wednesday, the Cardinals moved Steven Matz to the Red Sox for power hitting prospect Blaze Jordan. First of all, you got to like that name, right? And you got to like where he's from. Hello, I'm Blaze Jordan. I'm from Mississippi. That seriously, you can't make this up. I love that. It has nothing to do with his talent, but I just love that. Blaze Jordan. He was drafted. He should be playing like quarterback for Ole Miss or something. Anyway, he was drafted out of the high school in the third round of the 2020 draft at age 17 by Chaim Bloom, who was running Boston's baseball department as chief baseball officer at that time. He was the man in charge, except he had a lot of backstabbing associates who were left behind by Dave Nabrowski, but whatever. Bloom was calling the shots in those drafts, and he really thought highly of Jordan, and he drafted him at age 17 right out of high school. So I was hardly surprised. I kind of smiled when I saw what the Cardinals got for Steven Matz. When I saw Blaze Jordan, I said, okay. And people are wondering all those questions, which I understand. All those questions coming my way the last couple of weeks, maybe a couple months. Hey, what will Chaim Bloom really have any say in the trade deadline? Will he really make any decisions? Will he have impact in the trade deadline? The answer is 2 words: Blaze Jordan, ladies and gentlemen. And given Boston's substantial success in the drafts run by Bloom, now I know the haters are going to go in denial about that. I don't care. It's funny, actually. I love the entertainment. Bloom did a tremendous job of restoring the Boston farm system, and there's a lot of guys on their roster now that have put the Red Sox in the contention who were drafted by Bloom. So I take it this way, and I think Cardinals fans might want to take it this way. If Chaim Bloom wanted Blaze Jordan, I take that as a good sign. I'm not saying he is going to be, the Sultan of SWAT here in the majors. I'm just saying, given Bloom's track record with the draft, which is not Mookie Betts, okay? I gotta like it because I do believe that Bloom knows how to draft players. And if he knows how to draft players and he can identify prospects, that means he can, help draft players and identify prospects for your St. Louis Cardinals. Jordan, by the way, is currently tearing it up at AAA after his recent promotion from Boston's AA affiliate. All right, I don't want to get in too deep here, although I am anyway, but I got some good stuff. Stay with me. These deals for prospects, I'll give you my philosophy, and I really mean it. These deals for prospects are like these particular deals the Cardinals made, and there'll be some more today, I would assume. These deals for prospects are like any deals for prospects. You can never be sure how they're going to turn out. Yeah, maybe the first 4 or 5 guys drafted, but even then, you're never entirely sure. Listen, we see highly touted, heralded prospects go on and disappoint in the majors many, many times. On the other hand, we've seen unheralded prospects that no one, when, people draft them, they're like, whatever. And they go on to exceed expectations and have really good careers. See, prospects are volatile. They can go in every direction. Sometimes they go in several directions in the same season. It's kind of like trying to train a puppy or something, right? You just never know what they're going to get into. Bad puppy, good puppy, right? Anyway, some of them mature relatively quickly. Others struggle for a time, maybe for a long time, but eventually improved. Or others just flop and they go bust, and they never came close to meeting what the teams that drafted them believed that they would get to, that spot what they would get to. No one wants to wait on prospects, not in this short attention span, instant gratification society. I get that. No one wants to wait to see if prospects will be the right pick, the right people you acquired. whether these prospects will make your team better, it'll make your team more complete, and make your team at one point be part of a team that's going to contend for division titles and National League pennants and so on. And you have to wait and wait and wait in most cases for a complete and a more informed assessment before, grading a trade. And grading a trade when it is relevant to grade a trade. That could take 2 or 3 years. And that's going to leave, at least some fans restless and frustrated. I totally get it, man. I totally get it. But in my experience, I've been around a long time. Here's what I've come to expect on trade deadline days. Like yesterday was one. There were a lot of pretty big trades. Here's what I've come to expect. Number one, instant grades. Everyone's got to make a judgment right then, even before the dude that is acquired gets on a plane to join his new team, or in some cases, the Cardinals cases, reports to like Springfield or something, right? But got to give the grades because we know exactly what these young prospects are going to do. We know exactly. Obviously, they don't. I don't. You don't either. And then you have the prospect evaluators offering different views of the prospect's same talent and potential, and the prospect evaluators will disagree with each other. And Jesus Baez, this potential power hitter that the Cardinals got from the Mets, he personifies this. He was the top prospect, in terms of talent acquired by the Cardinals yesterday. And he's somewhat polarizing. Keith Law, the Athletic, dissed the trade and slapped Baez with some unusually harsh criticism that included his work ethic. While Law referred to Baez as being among the top 5 Mets prospects in terms of the raw talent tool, Law also said, and I quote, "He's not a very good baseball player. His approach at the plate is just bad. He doesn't play hard on either side of the ball. He showed up out of shape this season." But then he went on to praise the fact that Baez has excellent bat speed and it projects to plus power. I mean, I like Keith's a friend. I've known him for a long time. That was really harsh, but that's his opinion. That's one view. But I did a lot of reading and studying last night, and I came across some more positive assessments on Baez. And part of that is because the fast progress he's made at such a young age. He was putting up big numbers last year at age 19 at both Class A levels. And that landed him on Baseball America's top 100 list before the season, top 100 prospect list. But he fell off the list because he had knee surgery, minor knee surgery, but still he had a rehab and all that stuff. And he got off to a slow start, and things weren't coming along as fast as they should. So he was dropped from the top 100 prospect list. This happens all the time. He can certainly get back on it pretty soon. And that surgery may have been a reason why Baez was out of shape or wasn't as good a shape as he should have been, as Keith Law suggested. But at the time of the trade, I saw Baez rated either 5th or 6th among prospects in the Mets system by most third-party analysts, and I don't see a reason to downgrade him for being the 5th best prospect in a deeply talented organization when he just turned 20 this year. But if you're interested in a more favorable assessment on Baez, just to give equal time to Keith Law's assessment, here you go. And I'll go with my go-to source for prospect analysis done on a comprehensive level, and that is Baseball America. And I'm going to read you what they had to say. Quote, "Baez stands out for his production and progress at a young age. He has an active hitting approach plus bat speed and exceptional high-end exit velocity up near a maximum of 111 miles an hour for his age. Baez tracks the ball well, hits it hard consistently, already pulls the ball in the air like a more experienced hitter. He doesn't take many walks, and he can be enticed to chase, but above average bat-to-ball skills help him limit strikeouts. He looks confident in the box. He's a good mover who improved his swing path in 2024 to make it more direct. Scouts that are the highest on Baez project him to be a plus hitter with plus power." Okay, that's another view. You have 2 wildly contrasting views. Another thing I would tell fans real quick, because I'm running out of time here, don't get caught up on the fact that Baez is listed as a shortstop. I saw a lot of this instant reaction. I'm going to lose my mind hot takes, because you got to perform on X, right? You can't just give a sober opinion. You got to perform. So I saw a lot of hot takes. Why did they trade for a shortstop? They already have Wynn. They have Weatherholt. So JC can play shortstop. The Cardinals have too many shortstops. This is stupid. No, it's not stupid. The kid is 20 years old. He's nowhere close to being in the major leagues. He is an athlete where a lot of guys start out their career as shortstops or whatever. And a shortstop means you have the athleticism and the arm and some other things that you can move to other positions. He seems to be one of those guys. If I was reading a few scouting reports, would listen, hey, he probably moved to third. He could stay at shortstop a little while. He could play second base. So in other words, there's going to be plenty of options for Baez about where he'll go if his bat is good enough to be in the big leagues. A long time ago, speaking of that, the Colorado Rockies drafted a high school middle infielder named Matt Holliday. And once he got into the system, I think it was like the second year in their system, maybe their third, they moved him to the outfield. Trust me, there are hundreds and hundreds of examples of that type of thing. In these type of situations, I've come to expect reaction along two lines. Those who hated the Helsley Mets trade will cite the criticism like Keith Law, and they'll trade it to justify their own criticism, but they won't acknowledge any of the praise. And if fans like the trade, then they will cite only the positive reviews of the trade, and they will ignore the criticism of the trade. Me, big fella here, I cited one negative review and one positive review, and I presented both of them to you here in equal time. Because why in the heck would I declare a trade for a 20-year-old high A player as an instantaneous success or failure? There is a word for that, and that word is dumb. I'll say it again. Waiting may be the hardest part of this, but it's the only real way to know if this trade's going to work out or not. And I do like the trend I've seen since Bloom arrived and started working behind the scenes. The Cardinals are finally going after arm talent, pitchers who throw hard, have true strikeout pops, show signs of increasing velocity, a lot of upside. And the two Mets pitching prospects that the Cardinals got match that profile. And I'm not predicting success for them. I'm just recognizing that they have a profile and the characteristics that the Bloom regime will put a priority on when they are scouting and drafting and developing pitchers. And it's something the Cardinals have neglected for years and years and years. And Bloom and his people worked with Cardinals draft director Randy Flores, who's a smart man, on this overdue initiative. And that's why the Cardinals went for several high-ceiling power arms in the 2025 draft. Bloom had a major role in these Wednesday trades, and given his excellent work in the draft and development for the Rays and the Red Sox, I'm encouraged by his track record enough to say, hey, I'm going to give these things a chance instead of going off like bottle rocket, right? A couple of other things. Number one, the Helsley trade had no relevance whatsoever to the trade made by the Twins when they dealt their excellent closer, Yohan Duran, to the Phillies for two really good prospects. First of all, Duran's having a better season than Helsley. Two, Duran is under contract control for 2 more seasons after this one and isn't eligible for free agency until 2028. I'm sorry, but if you don't understand the difference in value, trade value, between dealing a 2-month rental closer who will soon be a free agent and trading a closer who is 2+ seasons away from free agency, gosh, I don't know what to tell you. Second, I don't want to get into this, but there was a lot of criticism to Cardinal land when you compare the package the Giants got from the Mets for reliever Tyler Rogers and the package the Cardinals received from the Mets for Helsley. Rogers, like Helsley, is a 2-month rental. There's 2 quick points here. Number one, Rogers doesn't have the same job as Helsley. He doesn't throw as hard, but he's this right-handed submarine-style reliever is a much better pitcher than Helsley, certainly this year. He's more durable. He pitches a lot more often than Helsley, who doesn't pitch much at all. He has a much lower ERA than Helsley. He's got the lowest walk rate among MLB relievers. He has twice as many wins above replacement than Helsley. In fact, the little-used Helsley this year ranked 5th among Cardinals relievers in wins above replacement behind Maton, Romero, Matz, and Leahy. And while the Mets did give up more talent to land Rogers, I'll just leave it at this. All the guys that they moved, the Mets were running out of room for them, either in the 26-man roster, that would be the reliever Jose Butto, or the minor league outfielder Drew Gilbert and the minor league pitcher Blake Tidwell. There wasn't going to be room on the 26-man roster for Butto, who is out of options. And there was not going to be, I'm reading the New York guys writing this, there wasn't going to be room for Gilbert or Tidwell after the season to add them to the 40-man roster because the Mets have a huge traffic jam there. So the Mets basically, they traded them so they could get something and they got something good before they were going to have to basically part company with these guys anyway. So, and like Gilbert was behind two other Mets center field prospects. Tidwell, according to the New York Post, was slotted behind three other starting pitcher prospects in the Mets pecking order. So, there were some like, well, we better get something because we don't have room for these guys going forward. So you got to take that in consideration. The Mets gave up three talents that weren't prominent in their future because their goal for 2025 is winning the World Series. So the Cardinals, interesting, went down to a lower level, high A, to get Mets prospects because the Cardinals know that what they're trying to do is going to take some time. Finally, a word before I go about Matz. I tried to warn everyone about Matz trade value being wildly inflated and exaggerated by local media. I've given you the stats before, and I'll offer them again real quickly. In his last 21 relief appearances as a Cardinal, Matz had a 5.40 ERA. Hitters smacked him around for a 302 average, 483 slugging percentage, and an average of 1.3 homers per 9 innings. I'm sorry, my friends. I really like Steven Matz, but I don't see Billy Wagner there, okay? So why in the world did anyone believe the Cardinals were going to get some windfall for Steven Matz when he's a rental with those numbers? Are you kidding me? Once again, another case of overrating Cardinals talent. As with the case with all those guys and with Blaze Jordan, we just have to wait and see. But Bloom looked into the future, took the long view, added some young talent to the pool. 3 of the 4 prospects are already or in the Cardinals' top 30 list at MLB Pipeline. Baez at number 6, Dome at number 15, and Jordan at number 19. That's progress. It isn't a payoff, but it's progress that could lead to a payoff. And I don't mind Bloom with that eye for scouting and assessing young talent, collecting a few lotto tickets here. And the Cardinals will try to do that again today with relievers Phil Maton and Jojo Romero at the least. He's taking the approach of a man who is in charge of rebuilding, and he knows it, and he's dedicated to it. And like it or not, here we are. But once again, before I say goodbye, I prefer a rebuild to sustained, never-ending middle ground mediocrity. Sometimes a team has to make a tough decision on how to go about the future in order to change the future. And no, it has nothing to do with that Bill DeWitt's got to have a $240 million payroll, Bernie. No, they can get there soon enough, but first they got to reform their base of talent so they're going to have more talent in their pool in the coming years. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks to DraftKings for presenting the Bernie Show here on STL Sports Central. Thank you very much.